Welcome once again to the video lecture series in History Class 12th. Today, we will continue with our discussion about 6th chapter which deals with Bhakti and Sufi traditions from 8th to 18th centuries. This chapter deals with 4 subtopics, of which 2 we have already discussed. Those are Bhakti movement in South India, Bhakti traditions in North India, rest 2 are Islamic traditions in India and Sufism, and integration of cults, difference and conflict according to historians, and reconstructing histories of religion. Today, we will discuss about Islamic traditions in India and Sufism. Islamic traditions in India and Sufism gives insight into policy adopted by Muslim rulers in India, complex blend of universal faith with local traditions, meaning and growth of Sufism, establishment of khanqahs and silsilas in Sufism, similarities and difference between Ba-Sharia and Be-Sharia, and major beliefs and practices in Sufism. Adoption of variety of languages by Sufi saints and how it helped in making Islam popular in the villages of the Deccan, how and why rulers tried to establish connections with Sufi saints, similarities between the Sufi tradition and the Bhakti tradition. So, Islamic traditions in India and Sufism. Between 8th to 18th centuries, not only the new religious traditions emerged, but due to conflict with land beyond seas and mountains, India came in contact with the Islamic world. So, the policy adopted by Muslim rulers in India. In India, majority of the population was non-Islamic and Muslim rulers were expected to rule according to Sharia. Sharia means law governing the Muslim community and guided by ulema, scholars of Islamic studies who performed various religious, judicial and teaching functions. They were known as ulemas. So, Muslim rulers, they were expected to rule according to Sharia and according to the guidance given by ulemas. The category of Jimmi means protected. It developed for people who were non-Muslims like Jews, Christians, Jain, Hindus who lived under Muslim rulership. Jimmis, they paid a tax called jizya and they gained the right to be protected by Muslim rulers after giving jizya. In India, Muslim rulers, they adopted flexible policy and at times expressed respect and devotion towards non-Muslim religious leaders. For example, an imperial order or farman issued by Akbar in 1598, it orders the dignitaries of the city of Khambayat in Gujarat to allow the Holy Society of Jesus to build a church there. With the passage of time, Islam was not confined to ruling class. Many people from different social classes like peasants, artisans, warriors, merchants, etc., they converted to Islam. So, there comes the complex blend of universal faith with local traditions. The universal features of Islam got mixed with local customary practices of converts and diversities in practice derived from sectarian affiliations to Shia or Sunni. For example, the Khojas, a branch of the Ismailis, means a Shia sect it is, use regional languages to spread ideas derived from the Quran. The devotional poems were sung in special ragas during daily prayer meetings in Punjabi, Multani, Sindhi, Hindi or Gujarati. It was known as Jinan. Jinan means which was derived from the Sanskrit word Gyan, means knowledge. Arab Muslim traders who settled in Kerala, they adopted the local language Malayalam and local customs like matrilini. Matrilini means descent through the female line. And matrilocal residence means women after marriage remains in their natal home with their children and their husbands may come to stay with them at times. This blend gets reflected in architectural features of mosque as well. The universal features as the orientation of the mihrab and the minrab towards Mecca mixed with local architectural features. For example, a mosque in Kerala of 13th century has shikhar-like roof. The Shah Hamdani Mosque in Srinagar, built in 1395, is one of the best examples of Kashmiri wooden architecture. Now, meaning and growth of Sufism. In the early centuries of Islam, a group of religious-minded people like Sufis, they turned to asceticism and mysticism in protest against the growing materialism of the Khalifa as the religious and political institution. Sufism is an English word coined in the 19th century. In Islamic text word, tasawwuf is used for Sufism. According to some scholars, the word Sufism is derived from suf, meaning wool, referring to the coarse woolen clothes worn by Sufis. Others derive it from safa, meaning purity, or maybe sufa, which is the platform outside the Prophet's mosque where a group of close followers assembled to learn about the faith. Now, establishment of khanqahs and silsilas in Sufism. By the 11th and 12th century, the Sufis, they began to organize communities around the hospice or khanqah controlled by a teaching master known as Sheikh, Peer or Murshid. Literally, it means a chain which signifies a continuous link between master and disciple, stretching as an unbroken spiritual genealogy to the Prophet Muhammad. Sheikh enrolled disciples known as murids and appointed a successor known as Khalifa. He established rules for spiritual conduct and interaction between inmates as well as between laypersons and the master. Most Sufi silsilas are named after a founding figure. For example, the Qadiri order was named after Sheikh Abdul Qadir Jilani, and Chishti order was named after the place of origin, that is, town of Chisht in central Afghanistan. The Chishti silsila, it became very influential in India. Why? Because they adopted successfully to the local environment and adopted several features of Indian devotional traditions. On one occasion, fearing a Mongol invasion, people from the neighboring areas of Delhi, they took refuge in the khanqah or hospice of Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia of Chishti silsila. The similarities and difference between Besharia and Basharia Sufi tradition. Some mystics, they initiated movements based on a radical interpretation of Sufi ideals. They were against the khanqahs and took to the practice of begging to survive. They observed celibacy, ignored rituals, and observed extreme forms of asceticism. They were called by different names like Kalandar, Madari, Malang, Haidari, etc. due to their deliberate opposition to the Sharia. Sharia is again the law governing Muslim community based on the Quran and the Hadith, that is, sayings of Prophet Muhammad. They were called Be-Sharia in contrast to the Ba-Sharia Sufis who followed Sharia. Major beliefs and practices in Sufism. Firstly, they believed in salvation through intense love and devotion to God, just like Bhakti saints. Secondly, they believed in following the footsteps of Prophet Muhammad, whom they regarded as a perfect human being, means insan-e-kamil. Thirdly, they believed in silsila or chain through which spiritual powers and blessings were transmitted to devotees. Fourthly, special rituals of initiations were developed in which initiates, they took an oath of devotion. They wore a patched garment and shaved their head. Whenever the sheikh or master died, his dargah or tomb or shrine became the center of devotion for his followers, where ziyarat, meaning pilgrimage to his grave, especially on his death anniversary, known as Urs, signifying the union of his soul with God. It was undertaken by his followers to seek the blessings of master or sheikh for material or spiritual benefit. Thus evolved the cult of sheikh, revered as wali. Wali means friend of God, who due to his closeness to God acquires Allah's grace or barakat to perform miracles, that is karamat. The most revered shrine of Khwaja Muinuddin Chishti, popularly known as Garib Nawaz at Ajmer, where even rulers like Muhammad bin Tughlaq, Akbar and Mughal princess Jahanara visited his dargah, which is recorded in the imperial documents. Qawwali was part of prayer at dargah, which included mystic music and dance to evoke divine ecstasy. The Sufis, they remember God either by reciting the divine name, Jikr, or evoking his presence through Sama. Sama means audition. Sama was integral to the Chishtis and shows that there was an interaction with indigenous bhakti traditions. 7th, practices like bowing before the sheikh or master, offering water to visitors, shaving the heads of the initiates and yogic exercises by Chishtis, it represents mixture of local traditions with it. Sufi tradition, it considered helping and serving humanity as foremost duty to God. With this aim, an open kitchen, langar, was run on futu. Futu is unasked for charity at Nizamuddin Aulia's Khanka or hospice, where people from all walks of life, poor, rich, they can eat, they can sit together and eat. They were against the rigid definitions and scholastic methods of interpreting the Quran and Sunnah by theologians, just like Bhakti saints were critical of the complex Sanskritic traditions. Adoption of variety of languages by Sufi saints. The Chishtis, they adopted local language in Sama. Amir Khusro, the great poet, musician and disciple of Sheikh Nizamuddin Aulia, gave a unique form to the Chishti Sama by introducing the call saying, that is a hymn sung at the opening and closing of Qawwali. This was followed by Sufi poetry in Persian, Hindavi or Urdu, or sometimes using words from all of these languages. In Delhi, those associated with the Chishti silsilas, they communicated in Hindavi, which was the language of the common people. Sufi saint Baba Farid composed his verses in the local language. Now, how use of local language made Islam popular in the villages of the Deccan? During the 17th and 18th century, the Chishti Sufis who lived in and around the town of Bijapur in Karnataka, they composed short poems in Dakhani, which is a variant of Urdu. These poems were sung by women while doing household chores. Other compositions were written in the form of Lorinama, that is lullabies, and Shadinama, wedding songs. Maybe these Sufi saints, they were inspired by the pre-existing bhakti traditions of communicating in local language. It is through this medium that Islam gained popularity in the villages of the Deccan. How and why rulers tried to establish connections with Sufi saints? The Sufis accepted unasked grants and donations from the ruling class and spent them on langar, that is open kitchen, clothes, ritual necessities, and all this increased their moral authority and attracted people from all walks of life towards them. So, even kings wanted their support. Why? Because Sufi saints were popular among masses. The sultans were Muslims, but majority of their subjects were non-Muslims. So, the Turks, when they established the Delhi Sultanate, they refused the demand of ulemas, that is, those were the scholars of Muslim studies, to impose Sharia, that was law governing the Muslim community based on Quran and the Hadith. They refused it. Why? Because they anticipated opposition from their subjects, who were majority of them non-Muslims. So, the sultans took the support of the Sufi saints who derived their authority directly from God and did not depend on ulema to interpret the Sharia and were popular among masses. At times, the kings wanted their tombs to be near the Sufi shrines and khanqahs or hospices. However, there were instances of conflict between the sultans and the Sufis. To assert their authority, both expected certain rituals to be performed like bowing or kneeling and kissing of the feet. Sufis like Sohrawardi under the Delhi Sultanate and the Naqshbandis under the Mughals were associated with the state and accepted courtly offices. Now, similarities between Sufi traditions and Bhakti traditions. Firstly, they both believed in serving humanity as their foremost duty towards God. Secondly, they both believed in secularism and tolerance. Thirdly, mysticism related to God and soul is common among both. Fourthly, they both revered the master or guru. The only difference is Sufi saints called the master as Sheikh, Peer or Murshid. So, we discussed about policy adopted by Muslim rulers in India, complex blend of universal faith with local traditions, meaning and growth of Sufism, establishment of khanqahs, silsilas in Sufism, similarities and difference between Be-Sharia and Ba-Sharia, major beliefs and practices in Sufism, adoption of variety of languages by Sufi saints and how it helped in making Islam popular in the villages of the Deccan. How and why rulers tried to establish connections with Sufi saints. Similarities between the Sufi traditions and the Bhakti traditions. In next lecture, we will discuss about integration of cults, differences and conflict according to historians and reconstructing histories of religion. Thank you.